How's it going?
I hear you. Good.
Oh, good. You're the first one here.
Didn't expect that. Did it just go live? Oh,
It's live, but it's on the placeholder screen where it says we'll be there briefly. Stream starting soon. Hello. Sounds like a bird.
there's not that much ambient noise. So do you hear the AC unit going?
No, it's probably low enough or at a constant enough tone that it doesn't pick it up.
Yeah, that bird is really distant.
It's probably the wavelength, the pitch is probably
Yeah.
what it is. It's so high pitched it comes through easily.
Does it let you mess with the thresholds here so we can try to tune that out? So,
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to. Hi, Nina.
Hey there.
How are you guys?
great.
Pretty good.
I actually had time to sit down and look at D&D Beyond and do stuff and write things for my character. I'm so excited.
Uh-oh. I might be in trouble.
See how far we get. How's your official birthday then?
Pretty good.
Good.
I've had a great week.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. It's been really good. My wife's pretty awesome, so she did a lot of cool stuff, so
That's awesome.
I'm just glad this past week's over. My husband had minor surgery on Monday and been recovering. And that's been going okay. Just dealing with all the insurance has just been crazy. Short version is his employer switched providers right at the beginning of the month, so that's been causing chaos getting everything switched over and whatnot.
Yeah, what a shame that affects you. I mean, the employer should make that seamless. That should not be a problem. What a bummer. Well, I guess I was waiting for Karu because it's better to set up the stream camera angles and whatnot if Karu is here, because if she shows up then it messes everything up and I just gotta redo it, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and start setting it up anyway.
She said she was coming, right?
Yeah, everybody said they were coming. She's been running Extra Life
Right.
all weekend, so
Right.
it won't surprise me if she's a human. She's allowed, you know. Oh, that's nice.
Classes. I'm already like taking my city exams and all this stuff, and I'm just a little tired. But I like school. It's good.
Classes already started for you?
Yeah, they did. On Tuesday.
I don't start till tomorrow, so.
I have my 8 a.m. tomorrow. Engagement and interviewing skills.
Nice.
Not going to be a very fun 8 a.m. class. I'm trying to think and talk and be social at 8 a.m. is not my forte, but we'll see.
Yeah. That's an interesting time to have that class.
I prefer the morning classes though, because I do have like evening classes, but they're just kind of...
Hey, Karu. Hello. It's alright. I was telling them that you were running Extra Life all weekend, so you're probably really out of it.
So much streaming. But we broke $300.
Oh, awesome. That's great.
We're still going, so
That's perfect.
This is a charity.
yeah. We started yesterday, and I did 6 hours yesterday, 6 hours today of D&D 5th edition. And yesterday they played Call of Cthulhu that Sam was DMing, and now they're playing Lancer. They should be finishing up soon, but they're still going.
Fun.
And we had to cancel it. We had 2 more games prepped for each day, but we had a lot of people sick. So we cut each day short by 1 game so that we wouldn't be pushing people who are either falling sick or recovering from sick or just flat out sick.
Yeah, that's rough. That's a hit to the schedule for sure.
Yeah, we'll make up for it. We'll do another stream another day for those missing 6 hours.
So I'm almost done setting up here. Give me 2 more seconds, and
Also, I heard it was your birthday today, Sam.
it is my birthday.
You should have mentioned that yesterday.
Why?
Because, well, happy birthday.
Well, thank you. I'm not usually one of those people that makes a big deal out of it, but what happened was my wife took me to a castle on Thursday and Friday, and that was pretty cool. So, yeah. Say that again. Sorry, I didn't hear you. There's a Castle Bellhurst, which is in Geneva, New York. So the directions to the room included the words "turn right at the suit of armor." So that was fun. So anyway, I normally don't like advertise my birthday or anything like that, but then she took me to the castle, and I couldn't not mention it on Twitter because it was just so damn cool. So. Now, one last thing before we actually start the stream. I recall that last time I mentioned you would be leveling up soon to level 4, correct? So the question is, did I have you level up?
Yes, you did.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure, because I had it in my notes and I thought, is that true? I I don't want to make an assumption and then, you know, have it suddenly be wrong, and then my plans and everything are set for a different type of group. So, okay, good. Is everybody ready?
I hope it will. I picked some cool stuff.
Yeah, okay, good. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch the stream over, and we will be going live in just a couple of seconds. Let me do that. So, and now there's the transition. So, give it a second to catch up to us. And it would be great if somebody could check the volume levels. I need to do a sound check on everybody. So, how about, let's see. Close that. That thing is going to just distract me the whole time. Let's see. David, say something.
How are you hearing me?
Pretty good, but turn your volume up just a tiny bit.
Okay.
Matthew, say something.
Hello, everyone.
Perfect, you're nice and loud. Nina, say something.
How's it going?
All right, Karu?
Hello, how's it going?
All right, and can everybody hear me? Okay.
And how is this now?
Perfect.
I turned
That's
it up a little
perfect.
bit.
That's good.
All right.
Okay. Everything
Okay.
on the stream looks good too.
Okay, good. Yeah. So mine has a lag, remember, so it's hard for me to look at the stream and gauge it. So, okay. So let me take one drink and then I'll be ready. All right. Well, welcome to episode number 7 of DnDeBrief, a game where we play 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons in my homebrew world, where they are trying to figure out a huge mystery about why everything got consumed by the ocean. I am DM Samuel. I am your dungeon master this evening, and I am here with my 4 players. Matthew, say hello.
Hello, everyone.
And David, say hello.
Hi.
And Nina, say hello.
Hi.
And Karu, say hello.
Hello.
All right. Now, the first question I always ask, who wants to do the recap?
What did happen last session?
A lot.
Hold on. I got it here.
Well, I'll start. So we essentially took Leukanius, the one half crab, half person, back to the ship after we kind of dispatched the other cultists. Well, we don't know if they're cultists or not. The other worshippers in the stone circle, and then once Emmeryn and Marcel returned, we all explored the sort of underground chamber that we discovered in the middle of the stone circle. When we were down there, we found all sorts of strange writing on the wall that we were able to decipher some of it. There was a pedestal with a disc, a sort of lens-shaped disc spinning around, and we were able to use magic to activate it. And we don't know if it was a projection. It was a projection of some place completely different. It was like some kind of a laboratory, and there were a couple people working there, and they became aware that we were observing them, and it seemed like they were trying to come through. So we kind of, Marcel found a way to grab the lens and pull it off the pedestal it was on, and we kind of Scooby-Doo ran it out of there and ran straight into the giant crab we had been sent here to find and catch them in the first place. And after a rather intense battle, we defeated it and pretty much chained it to the back of our ship and are taking it back home so we can pay off Ulgrat.
Okay. Does anybody have anything to add to that?
That covers a lot of it. Yeah, that's most of what I have.
Okay. And remember that when you got back to the ship with the giant crab carcass, your crew was quite impressed with you, and so you ended up getting a little bit more respect from the crew. Not that they didn't respect you before, but they were even more. They have even more incentive to be wary of attempting something like a mutiny or something like that. You're worthy of respect, and so that is something that is noticed.
Oh, I know it. So I have the description. We also saw the portal through that the disc opened up because we are all very curious people and ended up activating a portal and saw, was it a human and a gnome wearing some faded blue tunics and another person in blue robes with the same symbol on their shoulder. And we kind of ran from that into the other thing.
Right.
And a strange portal. It wasn't really a portal, but it was like a two-way communication.
Yeah, it was like a modern, kind of like face-to-face screen. Except then they started to open a portal and we panicked and ran for it.
The teleportation portal started going and we booked it.
Yeah. And we decided not to stick around and see how powerful they were.
Nothing ever pursued us is the other thing. Nothing tried to come after us as far as we know. I think Emmeryn pretty much shoved as much as she could on top of that latch before anything came up, but nothing seemed to pursue us, which is kind of odd.
Well, the person that had the person that looked like the leader in that room had said to someone, start the portal or open the portal or something like that, and then you saw an arcane sigil start to form on the floor. But around that time, Marcel grabbed onto the glass disc, right? The lens that was projecting the images, and then pulled it off of the pedestal or the stand. And while the arcane signature still looked like it was there on the ground, everything else disappeared. So you don't technically know if anything ever made it through, even though it seemed like they were going to pursue you.
Considering no one ever pursued me, I think at least Marcel thinks that interrupting the communication portion of that kind of maybe messed up their portal spell or something, or at least that's what they're hoping.
Okay, so the question is then, what would you like to do?
So we do have 2.5 days until we get back. We're going back to Trastenfen, correct?
Yeah.
Deliver the stinky crab corpse.
Yeah, we don't want to keep that thing on board longer than necessary. It's probably already stinking up the ship.
Seagulls? No thanks. I would like to have a conversation with Axley after he's recovered from previous traumas. But yeah, I would like to catch Axley alone for a minute.
Okay. I mean, the ship will travel for 2.5-3 days to get back to Trastenfen. So, given that at least one of you has healing magic, I think it's easy enough for him to be considered fully recovered, provided nothing happens along the trip. So basically, you're going to take a long rest, and you'll get back all your spell slots, and you can spend them healing him up.
Yeah.
Mechanically speaking.
I definitely do that.
Okay.
Thank goodness for magic and not long convalescing times.
Yeah. So, what did I do with my dice? Oh, here they are. So let me make some rolls and see what we get here for the first day of travel. So that's what everyone agrees to do, is go back to Trastenfen as fast as possible.
Yes, and I definitely didn't get my dice out.
Oh yeah, dice.
Dice. Yeah.
I'm so used to using Roll20, I never have my dice out.
you. Now I'm actually like prepped to play D&D.
So we're not dragging the crab behind the ship, are we? It's actually on the ship.
It's hanging off the back of the ship, but not in the water, so we don't lose it underwater either.
So there's probably a huge flock of seagulls following our ship wherever we go.
Oh, yeah.
With bad haircuts.
With I've been using shape water to kind of cool it off and
Oh.
possibly, splash the seagulls off.
Feel bad for whoever has to swab the decks of the seagull dung.
Yeah.
Well, they asked for this thing, so we're going to deliver this giant, stinky carcass.
Yeah.
Here you go. Oh, they'll smell us coming along before they see us.
I would say, what's going to give us away faster, the smell of the crab or the crying of all the seagulls?
A little bit of both.
I think we try to cover it up with some extra tarp or something like that.
It's going to take a lot of labor to clean up the ship, get it smelling nice.
Luckily, you have 15 or 16 other crew members that are there to do your dirty work.
I think we're going to have to buy some perfume, a lot of it.
Just burn some incense on the deck.
Yep.
Burning incense on the deck, I think, would cause the crew to mutiny.
Probably.
You're first because the incense, but second because the fire.
Yeah,
Okay.
Doesn't sound great.
All right. So, your first day of travel is relatively uneventful. It is a partly cloudy day, but you see that a small storm is building, and that leads to a day of incessant rain your entire second day of travel. But luckily, the morning or the evening of the second day, when you're starting to get close to the actual Trast Bay, you feel like you're probably 6 or 7 hours out, and the clouds clear up, and by the time morning breaks and you're close to Trastenfen, it is actually a sunny day outside. So, nothing of any measure happened on board other than everyone doing their sort of regular jobs, and your crew is behaving itself very well. As I said, the giant crab that is being cared for by a strange furry spellcaster on board is keeping the crew very much in line. So, what is it that Emmeryn wanted to talk about with Axley?
Yeah, so I'll just catch him down below, maybe when we're changing shifts, but catch him alone, just down, ask him, hey, how you feeling?
Down in the kitchen.
Down in the kitchen.
I still have the splitting headache, but thanks to you, things are going well for recovery.
Yeah,
That was a bit of a scrape.
Yeah, you took quite a beating, but you probably took all the damage for all of us, so thanks.
Well, hopefully next time I'll be in better form.
Hopefully next time we can come up with a little bit of a better strategy. I think we kind of ran into just not something we were prepped for. But once we start to learn and figure out each other, I think we'll be a pretty good team.
We literally ran into it, didn't we?
Yeah.
Ran right up into it.
we lost Sam.
No, I'm adjusting my
Okay.
camera and I didn't want to give everybody a headache.
Okay, no, I was just worried. Speaking of, we haven't really told Konos or Marcel hardly anything about the ship that we found, like the symbol. We haven't really explained anything to them. How
That's true. I think there's a lot
trustworthy?
we don't understand ourselves.
Yeah, it's not something that I would go telling anybody willy-nilly. So I'm wondering how you feel about them. I want your input.
Well, I think the stakes have been raised now that the cat of nine tails is out of the bag of holding, so to speak. With that crystal, I think those forces out there that we don't really understand are now well aware of us. And I think we can assume that they'll be looking for us, or at least trying to find out what threat we represent. So I think that increases the threat to them as well, just being associated with us.
That's a good point. Do you think their interests? Do you think their interests align with ours?
Well, so far it seems to generally align. I don't know what their personal motivations are. There's some strange forces at work with that one with the tentacles and the little thing, the little tentacle thing in the container. I don't know what's going on there. I've never seen that kind of magic before. Kind of creeps me out every time that magic is used. But they seem like they have good intentions. I think we do need to probably sit down with them and at least have a conversation about what this adventure is starting to take form, and with a threat.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. They're capable.
One thing that, yeah, definitely, and I think we're probably alive because they're with us. So that's definitely something of value for sure.
So actually, I have somewhere I need to go.
Oh?
I had a dream that I think Goras sent me, and I think it's where my mom is. And I want to go there. And I don't know how well that aligns with anybody else's interests, is what I'm concerned about. I know you're probably with me through the whole thing, but I'm a little worried if they'll come.
Where is it? Do you know the specifics of where you need to go?
I don't know. It was a vision of a library. I was flying through the air. It's somewhere I've never really seen before, but it was a really large city. And I think it's called the Library of Great Towers. There's a lot.
Have I heard that name before, maybe with my Arcana studies?
Yeah, you want to roll a history check, or actually an Arcana. That's a good idea.
Okay. 6 plus 2. That's not so good. 8.
Yeah, Great Towers is not the most descriptive of names. You're not really recalling anything in particular that you know about in this area.
Well, I think a library, especially a great library, would definitely be of aid to us. I think we're at a disadvantage here, knowing far less about these forces and these strange symbols on these robes we're seeing, and these evil forces that may be aligning against us. Maybe we could learn something important at a great library. So I think that there's cause to justify going there, if not for your mother, but for the good of everybody.
Okay. Would you talk with them with me when we get back to Trastenfen? Maybe we should sit down, have a drink for a while, and talk things over, see where their interests are as well.
Absolutely, and they're well traveled. Maybe they've heard of this library. Maybe they know
Yeah.
what direction it lies.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
And
do you want to sit down with Konos and Marcel before you get to Trastenfen, or do you want to wait till everyone gets back to town?
I was thinking of waiting till we get back to town. Kind of just because I mostly want to know where we're going first. Because I don't want to sit down and tell them, hey, we're going to this library, but I have no idea where it is. So I wanted to scout around town and see if I could find anybody who had more information so I could sit down and be like, hey, this is where I would like to go. Like, kind of plan it out a little bit so it sounds like I have a little bit more of a plan in my head.
Okay. So by doing that, you realize that you lose the ability to find out if they've heard of it.
Yeah.
Well, just temporarily, right? We do have to first go back and unload this crab.
Yeah,
We don't want to travel the world.
Let's focus on the crab first.
Okay.
Let's get that done.
There we go. Although that would definitely be a reputation builder. Known
Okay.
for the big stick of crab.
Is there anything that Konos and Marcel would like to do on the ship before we get back to the island?
I actually did want to talk with Emmeryn briefly
Okay.
about something. Captain, I did wanted to ask you, so about the person we're bringing back, this Leukanius. Do you think there's any chance of reversing what's going on with him, or do you know is there anyone at any of your is there like a temple that you worship at in Trastenfen that we might be able to take him to?
I've been thinking about that, and I do think probably taking him to the Temple of Goros is our best option. Whether or not they can heal. Do I know of any, like, healers in town or someone who would be a little bit more versed in reversing magic? Any mages? Anybody that would probably help that I know of?
I mean, you were born and raised here, right?
Yes.
So I think that you would probably have the ability to go to the priest at the temple.
Okay.
And confide in them, and you know, if you
Okay.
asked them to care for this creature, this half man, half crab creature, and you know, as you are the representative of that creature, then I
Yeah.
think they would do what you asked. Or at least you think they would do what you asked.
Okay, I'm gonna do a thing. I don't know if this is gonna help at all, but Konos, come with me for a minute.
Okay.
I take Konos and go down to where the creature is. I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna cast Detect Good and Evil to see if I can figure out what kind of creature it is or what kind of magic. I don't know if that'll be helpful at all, but I'm gonna try it.
Okay. Let me ask you this. What is it that you are trying to find out? What is it that you hope to learn from casting
So the spell says, for the duration you know there is an aberration, celestial, elemental, fey, fiend, or undead within 30 feet. So I'm wondering if he qualifies as any of those.
Okay. Let me check something.
Making the DM think.
Yeah. Make me think. Darn it, I'm thinking. Why are you making me think?
While Emmeryn is doing this, can I if she explains what she's doing, I would say I can try my own sort of sensing on him, and I would try detect magic on him, maybe to see if he's under any kind of magical curse or anything like that.
I have so many spellcasters.
um, so I'll answer Konos's question first. No, there is no magical signature left on this creature that leads you to believe that a spell was cast upon it to make it into what it is.
Okay.
In terms of the detect, let me check one more thing. Sorry. I thought of something else. In terms of the detection of what sort of creature this is, so when you learned this spell, you had to cast this spell several times to make sure that you were doing it properly and that you had all of the ritualistic parts of it, all the components, and all of everything that goes into casting this spell. You had to do that several times to perfect your own personal casting of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had to cast the spell several times to test that it actually will detect certain things for you. So how do you know if it works to detect an aberration if you've never been around an aberration? So you went through some different sorts of training as part of the temple where you could detect aberrations and fey origin creatures and things like that. But you yourself, it's possible that you've never actually really seen or been around one of those creatures. You just were tested to make sure that that spell worked. So, in other words, every time that you've ever cast this spell previously, it has been a pure detection type spell where you either get sort of a positive result or you don't.
Okay.
And in this case, what you're getting is a mix of fey origin mixed with aberration. And it's very confusing because neither of those sort of indicators or signals are coming in super, super strong. But there is this weird sort of aura about this Leukanius person that gives you the idea of fey, but then also of aberration. At the same time, it's not like one and then the other and then it goes back. It's like both of them laid on top of each other. But it's very, very weak.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. Okay. Konos, can you ask him to make sure he's comfortable and has everything that he is needing?
Yep. Yeah, I'll talk mentally to him and just kind of try to get a gauge of how he's doing. Let him know that we're almost to where we're going, and we think we can take him someplace to help him.
He doesn't really respond other than a kind of slight nod. He doesn't actually project any thought back to you.
Okay. He seems pretty quiet at the point.
Okay. I kind of walk a couple steps away with Konos.
Yep.
Like, yeah, I think I'm not very well versed in a lot of this. This is kind of a trial by fire type thing. But when I cast that spell, I got really faint traces of Fey and aberration. But I think the best place is the temple if that's the case. Maybe the priest there would know a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah, I'm hoping they can be of help. It would be a shame if we brought him back all this way if there's nothing that can be done with him.
Right.
And is there anybody else around or just the two of us?
Just the two of you and
Okay.
Leukanius.
Okay. I would say Emmeryn, I would say. And on top of that, I feel like I have a bit of a personal stake in his recovery as well. And he'll pull aside the bandana that he's been wearing kind of diagonally across his face that covers his right eye. And when he does, Emmeryn, you would see that his right eye is pretty much crusted over with like barnacles and small mollusks. And I'll say to her that the very Pirates of the Caribbean style. I say like, we haven't talked much about how I can do what I do or where my magic comes from, and that's probably a discussion we should have. But short story is I feel like seeing him, the state he's in, kind of reminds me of a bit of what's going on with this, and then he'll cover it back up because it's probably a little gross to look at.
Emmeryn's like trying and failing not to like look absolutely like horrified at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a valid point. Yeah, hopefully we can help him, and then in the same token help you. Yeah, we should have a discussion maybe when we get back to Trastenfen about everything. There's some things I need to tell you as well, me and Axley. So I think that would be good.
Okay.
Okay.
If we were playing Call of Cthulhu, I would now ask you for a sanity check.
Oh, God, yeah.
I can just picture all the little things poking out of them, little mollusks and great special effect.
And about 3 seconds later, Konos things like, I really got to remember to warn people about that too, first, beforehand.
Yeah. And Marcel, do you have a moment? I had something on my mind.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I just recall in the haze from the battle, and memories are starting to come back to me. And I remember in the heat of battle, something about the lens that you grabbed. I remember a spell being cast, and it seemed to refract and reflect and maybe even amplify the spell. If my memory is correct, maybe there's some further experimentation we should do with the lens to find out if it actually does amplify magic or have some strange effect on magic.
I would recommend, if we're going to try something like that, not using electric. I think my hand still tingles a bit from that. Electric might not be the way to go. But yes, it would be interesting to find out if this thing can actually amplify magic.
Yeah, maybe starting with just simple light would be a good place to begin.
At most, we'll end up blind. Sure.
No problem.
Yeah, we'll have to put some more thought into how to do that, but I think there definitely should be some experimenting there.
Okay. So I think that brings us back into Trastenfen. So you bring the ship into Trast Bay and you dock it on one of the slips there. And what's your plan for going forward?
I want to find what's his face. God, I feel like we haven't been back here in like a year.
A week, at least.
Yeah,
How
I mean,
much?
it's
was,
been,
yeah, because it was a couple days out, a couple days back.
3
yeah,
days each way, I think, right?
2.5. So plus, you spent about a half day there, so it's about 5.5 days.
Why do I not have a name? The watch keep The
Ulgrat.
yes, thank you. Ulgrat. I want to find him.
Okay. So do you go to his office?
Yes.
Is that what I'm hearing? Okay.
Yeah, we need to get rid of the crab now.
Sooner
I'm
the
like
better.
power walking, like straight up and down, shoulders back, like we got your crab.
All right. So that are you gonna take the crab with you to his office, or are you going to go to his
Are you-
office?
Karu's nodding, like yeah.
We're gonna dump that thing right outside his office.
Here you go.
Okay.
Well, you talked me into it.
So you're gonna pull the crab down
We're dragging this thing through
off of the
town.
boat.
Probably having, people, some of our crew do that.
Yeah, you're gonna have about 6 or 7 crewmen sort of carrying this thing up with their arms up, carrying the thing upside down.
I'm strong. I'll help.
Trips all over
All the way to Ulgrat's Dockwatch station.
Yep.
It's big, right? But
Yeah.
I'm thinking maybe just to help these guys out, we could like pilot onto one of the rowboats and have them like carry the rowboat. That way they don't have this like rotting thing on top of their heads.
Okay. Yeah, however you want to do it, that's fine with me.
We can do that.
Okay.
But I really wanted to grab a chunk of it and just like throw it at him.
I mean, we can still do that when we get there.
Wow.
Okay, so you get to the Dockwatch office, and if you look in the window in the door, he's in there, sitting at the counter there, filling out some paperwork.
Someone want to go get him?
Yeah. Prop that dead crab up right in front of the door, so it'll be just face height as soon as you enter. I'm gonna knock on the door.
Like put one of the eyes in the window and just knock on the window.
Oh boy.
Okay, so who's gonna go in and
I
get
just
him?
want to knock on the door, so when he opens the door, it's right there in front of him.
So you're gonna knock, and everybody's gonna get out of the way and hide.
We're ding dong ditching it with a giant crab. Love it.
Okay, so you knock on the door.
Wait, can I stand on top of it? Like, no, I'm gonna like fall into it. That's gross. No.
You hear him shuffling towards the door. All right, all right, all right, I'm coming, I said. And he swings the door open. And he says, "What in the 9 hells?" And you see him fall back, and he falls right on his ass, just right on it. And he pulls a big knife out of his boot. "What the hell kind of a prank is this? Who's out there?"
I'm gonna walk around the corner. We already took care of it. It's already dead.
Good to see you're spry as you ever were, ready for action.
He
Although
sort
I
of
don't think a
he
knife
still has
is gonna do a whole lot against that guy.
he still has his knife in his hand, and he sort of gingerly gets up. "Oh, it's you. Well, fine." He puts the knife back in his boot. "I wasn't expecting you back so soon. That's a
He's a kid.
very large crab." He
The one you
sort of
told us to get. We got it.
he
Would
looks
you want bigger?
he sort of walks, and he tries to walk around it, and he can hardly get out of the door and go around it. And he's trying not to touch it, but as he goes out the door, he kind of rubs up against it, and he gets kind of wet, gooey stuff on him, and he goes around. He says,
Careful, those stains take some effort to get out.
I imagine. How long have you had this?"
It took us about 2.5 days to get to the island, and we killed it, threw it on the ship, and brought it back. So about 2.5 days.
He's poking at it with his finger. "It's amazingly
Been
fresh."
frozen.
I've been using a bit of, keeping it covered in water to help
Hmm.
get the seagulls off this thing too, but that probably helped a bit.
It's amazing. All right, well, now what are you going to do with it?
That's your
I
problem
think
now.
that's a matter of delivery and payment that needs to be discussed.
Oh, this is the one for me?
Yep.
Ah, well, come in. Let me get your paperwork out.
Everyone's just like rubbing her eyes, like, dear God. Yeah, I go in with the paperwork.
He rifles through some papers and he gets it out and he says, "All right,
Well, looks like the deal I made was... How did I give you such a good deal? Well,
Maybe you didn't believe we would actually do it.
all right, well, it appears here that I'm to write off all of your charges.
That's right.
Well, all right.
you could tell he's a little he's a little confused and he says,
Wait a minute, wait. Didn't we smoke the pipe together? Ah, yes, I remember. That's when I made this deal, of course.
I turned to Axley, I'm like, this wasn't that long ago.
In his world, I think it was.
I guess.
All right, well, I've signed your paperwork, and it'll be filed away, and the ship is officially yours, and your registration fees are paid. For the month.
Pleasure doing business with you.
Yes, you as well. I'm going to have a wonderful crab stew. Hey,
Honestly,
didn't...
recommend not eating it.
Oh, why is that?
It might upset your stomach.
Haven't you ever heard that dwarves have iron stomachs?
I thought that was for alcohol.
Well, you haven't tasted my crab stew.
What if it's cursed?
What? What do you mean?
Just putting it out there. I mean, I don't know if this thing is cursed or not, but I mean, I was just asking, are dwarves like resistant to cursed things? Maybe things from not quite this realm?
Why do you think it's cursed? It's just a big old crab.
Right, so you've seen crabs this big before and cooked them regularly?
No, but look, it's just a big crab. I've seen small ones, I've seen medium. This is just really large.
I'm wandering out the door.
Yeah,
I grab the paperwork and I'm out the door.
Right. Well, maybe you should write down that, you're doing this of your own free will and we're not responsible for anything that happens to you once you eat it.
I can sign a waiver.
You're saying you want me to sign a contract?
Maybe. Listen, I just don't want to be responsible if tomorrow you wake up with like a crab hand.
puts his hands in front of his face.
What do you mean? Crab hand.
Well, it makes it very difficult to go to the bathroom.
Or to handle all that paperwork you're always doing.
You don't know. Maybe it'll help. Yeah, the pincer.
All right, your work here is done. Get out.
Right.
No
Well,
more of this nonsense.
good luck with your stew.
Come back next week and I'll give you something. It'll be perfect.
Sure. I just shake my head and leave.
Oh, wait. One more thing.
Yes.
You have to file a notice when you're leaving. When do you plan on leaving?
I look towards Emmeryn.
Emmeryn's not there. I'm gone.
I'll let the captain know. I'm not sure.
We'll be sure and do that. Thank you.
All right, very well. He goes back to writing on some papers.
Well, we got our
that's fine.
stuff paid off, but we didn't really make much money out of that.
And this is more like getting the boot taken off your car so you can actually take it places.
That just means we can't go celebrate at the tavern. That's the bad part.
What's your next order of
We need
business?
to buy some industrial soap, and we may need to make use of that wind spell of yours, Marcel, for power washing the deck of the ship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Emmeryn is like gone, by the way. She is running to the shipwrights to see her dad.
Okay.
Because order of business, don't we still have to pay the shipwrights for repairing, even though the original fees are done? Do we still have to pay them?
I thought the Ulgrat was going to cover that.
Or yeah,
I
I
mean,
thought some
I'm
of that
totally
already got
fine
taken
if
care
it
of.
is, but
Yeah, that was already paid.
perfect. Okay. I'm still running there anyways.
Or at least what he just signed off on was your entire receipt. So
Perfect.
whether or
Great.
not it got paid, whether you realize it or not, if it got paid, he just signed off the entire thing. So you're
Great,
free and
okay.
clear.
Well, I say we just head to the bar. It's time for a drink, and we can just wait our illustrious leader when she's ready to join us.
Yeah, that sounds great to me.
Okay.
All right.
The bar is abuzz with tales of 7 men carrying that crab all the way up the dock in a boat and then dropping it in front of the Dockwatch office. And a couple of the sailors that are part of your crew, they're buying drinks for people, and they're telling them how their ship went and was part of taking down the king crab. They are saying things that are untrue, by the way. That
Absolutely. Yeah,
part-
kind of figured.
yeah, part of it's true and part of it is untrue. So
I'm pretty sure Marcel gave them more than one tale of what happened actually on the beach, so they've got stuff to work with.
Yeah. So when the three of you enter, they immediately go a little bit quiet, and tell their tale a little bit less boisterously. But after just a few minutes, a free round of drinks is sent over to you, and as the minutes tick by, they start getting louder and louder again, and talk
Nice.
of their week-long journey.
We'll find a table out of the way in the corner and just sit back and let them tell their tales and enjoy the drinks.
Very good. Emmeryn, what you doing?
I am like slightly jogging up, going to the shipwrights as fast as my scale mail will let me go, clanking all the way. But I'm gonna go find my father. He's probably at work, I would imagine. He's at the shipwrights guild.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go look for him, scout around, see if I can find him.
Sure, he's easy to find. You kind of know what his daily schedule is, so.
Yeah. So,
he greets you warmly. Emmeryn! Okay, he hugs you back. I am happy that you've returned. I've heard of a giant crab coming off of your ship.
Yeah, we did that. That was to pay for everything. That was our deal.
I see.
That was the thing that we went out to go do, and I know you were worried, but we did it. And it went well. Everything was good. Everything is going really, really good.
You didn't get hurt? He's kind of walking
Not
around you.
Scratch, actually. Actually took a couple hits, but he's all right. I can heal now, and I can help people, and I can do things. And We did it.
So you're back?
For a time, yeah.
A time.
Yeah.
A long time?
No. A very short time, actually. But I had a vision, and I think I know where Mom is. And I'm gonna go get her.
He sort of drops his head. She's been gone a long time.
I know. But who knew giant crabs existed? Who knew we saw some crazy things out there? She's not dead. She's not dead, Dad.
Crazy and dangerous, right? Dangerous things. Dangerous things.
But we have friends. There are people that help. They're more than capable. We're more than capable together. I saw it, and I need to talk to them a little bit more, but I think that there's a lot we can do. I want to go do it.
Where is it that you think she is?
I need to find that out. I had a vision, but I don't know where it was. It was somewhere I'd never seen. There were huge buildings and structures. It was a rather large town. There was a huge library built of stone. Library of Great Towers is the only information I really gleaned from it, but I'm sure someone will know where that is.
I wish you would stay.
I'll be back with Mom. The next time I see you, it'll be the two of us. And we'll have some time to catch up, and I have so many things to tell her, and she opens up like this giant journal that's just stuffed with papers. And
I have seen those types of journals before. Your mother used to do that.
so we'll have two, and we can have more time to go through them together.
Roll me a charisma performance check, please.
Oh, that's not good.
Or sorry, not performance, persuasion. I was looking at the wrong thing as I was talking.
10?
He I cannot forbid you. You are old enough to make your own decisions, I suppose, but I fear that I will never see you again. You're leaving for good, and you know it.
I'll be back with Mom. That's a promise. She gives him another hug.
He hugs back, and as he's hugging you, he whispers in your ear, "Don't make promises that you are unable to keep."
I don't. You taught me that. She turns and leaves.
Roll me a perception check.
Um, 15.
As you're walking out, you're beyond the doorway in the room he was in. You hear him say ever so quietly, "I hope you find her." And then you're out of earshot.
every time I have one of those interactions, I just want to like scream. Okay, I'm going to the tavern for a drink.
That's fair.
I'm gonna go find my friends and
After that.
You walk into the tavern, and as you walk in, you see there are two big tables,
Okay.
two big giant round tables, and there are two people sitting next to each other at each table, and there's a crowd standing around each of the tables. And the two people at each table are telling the story of the sea voyage that was week long, and it has pirates and big whales and finding the smallest island in the world, because someone, kept going up to the crow's nest and jumping as high as they could, and just all of these fantastical images, along with fighting off giant crabs for hours as they tried to swarm the beach. There were so many on the beach that you couldn't see the actual sand anymore, and things like that. You can hear it immediately as you're walking up. Actually, from the outside of the bar, you hear these tales. And at a third table, sort of off in the corner, you see Konos and Axley and Marcel sitting quietly, sipping their drinks, and chatting.
okay. As I walk past that table too, I kind of like butt my head in and I go, "Did they get to the part about the giant octopus yet?" And I walk. I go and join Konos and Axley and myself.
The the person telling the story says, "Oh, I can't believe I forgot that part." And he proceeds to just spill the beans about all of the giant octopus and all of its offspring that were coming and shooting ink and all of these different things. Yes, it was an amazing, fantastical adventure.
A mighty kraken named Otto.
I was gonna say, Konos, you should go show them Otto and tell them that we captured one of its babies and tamed it for our own.
All right, he will show his familiar off a little bit. And imagine one of these, but 50 times bigger.
Oh my god.
Are
I'm
you
just
actually
like sitting back listening to this, and I'm like, we have a lot to live up to now.
We're setting the bar high.
Are you showing them Otto?
Yeah.
Okay. The crowd actually, when you show them Otto, they take a couple of steps back at first, like, "Oh, what is this? This is dangerous." But then, of course, they're really curious. So you see them as the two guys sitting at the table, and as you're telling this story and you're talking about these big octopus swarms, you could see the people sort of inching closer and closer to try to look in the little, in Otto's little house and trying to, and Otto, for his part, is sort of puffed up and and sort of letting his tentacles move actively, and enjoying the attention just a little bit.
Okay.
What?
I put a hand up. I'm like, some privacy, please. We do need to discuss matters.
The people will settle down and leave you alone if you ask for privacy. The four sailors are perfectly happy, continuing to retell the embellished stories about the crew of the Tempest's fortune.
So I kind of peek around and I'm like, Konos, you never really did tell us how you came across your companion.
Okay, well, it's a bit of a story, but compared to the ones that have been going around, it's a little simpler. So about 7 or 8 months ago, I was diving in near the reefs, kind of a ways north of here, and I found something pretty unusual and pretty interesting. Um, actually, I show you this when we're back on the island, but I figure it's fair to show everybody, and he will unwrap the piece of coral that he's been carrying around and show it to the two of them, to Marcel and Emmeryn now. And it was unusual. When I first came across this, it's like I lost track of myself and where I was for a short time, and I just had started having these strange visions of this strange coral reef somewhere, and I'm not really sure where it is or what might be there, but ever since I found this, I've had some that's basically how I started getting my magical powers. I didn't really have much before that other than being able to detect a little magic here and there. But I've also been feeling it's a strange sort of calling to take this somewhere, like it wants to go back to somewhere. And that's kind of what I've been spending the last few months trying to do, is find out more about what this is and what it might be related to and where it needs to go. And in the course of carrying this around, Otto kind of just appeared one day, and I've been taking care of it ever since.
It sounds almost like something imbued you with maybe its power and purpose.
It seems like that. I mean, I've never heard of anything happening like that. It's just a strange encounter I had one day, and I've been trying to, like I said, just kind of make sense of what it might be ever since.
Was it a vision kind of like the one that the lens gave off, or was it like you were there? Like, did it transport you somewhere?
I didn't really feel like I was transported anywhere. It was almost like either I lost consciousness or something just kind of put a presence in my head and just gave this strong, very, very strong urge and sense of home. And this is a place that needs to be visited at some point. I haven't shown this to too many people.
Yeah, that's fair. Do you have any idea of where this is urging you to go? Like, even just a sense of direction? Or
It's
figure that out.
I'm still figuring that it seems to sort of come and go from time to time. Sometimes there's no feelings and sensations, or other times there's a very, very strong urge to sail in a specific direction or to look for a certain place or point. It's probably been a little while since I felt a calling from it.
So no direction as of now.
Not right now, no. I did use it when we were back on the island, and it did have an air of familiarity, like it had been there before. It recognized the place, but that's about it.
Sounds sentient.
It does almost, yeah. I mean, it's not like I talk to it and we have conversations. It's more just I pick up strong feelings or strong emotional reactions from it from time to time. The other,
do you feel like
go ahead.
Do you feel you're 100% yourself, or do you feel its presence taking you over or being a big part of you? Do you feel like is its purpose benevolent, or do you sense any kind of evil intent?
I really haven't sensed any kind of good or evil intention, just a desire to kind of return. It's almost like it's a part of something bigger, and it wants to be reconnected with whatever that is. As far as taking me over, I mean, I still feel myself. I mean, I've developed some unusual magic since this, but that's about it. Oh well, there is one other thing, and this will be a little shocking, and Emmeryn, I should have told you earlier. And he will essentially reveal the under the bandana for this. And after I found it, my eye kind of started getting grown over with all these little barnacles and stuff. And that's partly why I was so desirous to bring Leukanius back and see if we could get him treated. So hopefully, whatever, if we find something that works on him, maybe we can find something that will take care of this too.
Well, whatever it is, if it's giving you abilities, they seem to help us out, so it can't be too bad.
My parents always told me never look a gift seahorse in the mouth, so for now it's been helpful. So
Wise words.
At least it's not crab that you're turning into, because then we'd have issues.
yeah,
that's what I was thinking. That came to mind in the sense that there's something maybe similar of these conditions we've seen of men merged with aspects of the sea and life from the sea.
well, I'm not a fish yet, and hopefully I'll stay that way.
Interesting.
But you were
Another
always
mystery.
blue-skinned, right?
I'm sorry?
But you were always blue-skinned, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just checking.
Another mystery. We seem to be attracting them like a giant stinking crab the size of a house attracts seagulls.
Yep, you know, the fact that you have blue skin makes me wonder. Have you ever seen like goblinoid creatures but with like blue skin?
Have I ever seen goblinoid creatures with blue skin?
You want to roll a history check?
Sure. 17.
You have heard about them. Only because they are goblins are not new, but goblins with blue skin is a relatively new phenomenon that you and your people have heard about.
Are there sea goblins like there are sea elves?
Previously, no, but there is suspicion that something has caused them to come into being or come into this plane. Previous to the common plateau, previous to the sinking on the common plateau, there were no blue-skinned goblins in existence, and now it seems like there are populations of them.
So I'll tell Marcel. Yes, I've heard of blue skin goblins, but I don't think they're native to, or I don't think any have been seen around this world since before the sinking. But blue skin is pretty common among sea elves, at least from what I understand.
That's why I was wondering. The pirates that sank my ship, some of the crew looked like blue-skinned goblins, and that's one of the few leads I have on them. That and the flag they were flying. It was a deep red flag with a silver shark tooth on it.
Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, my screen is entirely frozen. I can hear you guys, but it's like gone.
We can also see you moving, so you
Yeah.
Oh, that's
cam's working.
Yeah, we see you just fine.
just entirely blank. But I can hear you. Do you want me to just close out the program and see if I can come back?
No, because it'll mess up our video
Figured.
stream.
Okay. I can just.
We can do it. We'll take a break in about 10 minutes, and you can do it at that point, and then we'll reset
that's fine.
everything.
Perfect.
It might also catch up and decide to start showing you something again.
Hopefully.
Who knows?
It's just got like this message. It's not responding, and I'm.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah. Just wait for it because we still see you.
Okay.
So
Sorry.
Yeah.
Continue.
If at any point in time suddenly it stops showing you us, or we stop seeing you, or if you stop hearing us, then
Yeah.
log out, and we'll notice then that you've logged out, and so.
Okay.
But we all seem to have mysteries that are in need of answering. So I guess that brings us to what's next for us in terms of our voyages and adventures. It sounds like a visit to a library would be appropriate, as there's a lot of research that may answer a lot of these questions. Where does blue coral come from? Where do blue goblins come from? what is the nature of the sigil that we see on the robes of the forces that are responsible for the giant crab. Maybe we should head in that direction.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Have either of you heard of, I forget it again. I need to write this down somewhere. The
Great.
Library of Great Towers.
I suspect I haven't, but have we?
You can roll a either Arcana or History check, your choice.
12 Arcana.
16 history.
Marcel, Konos does not know about it, but does not have any sense of it. But Marcel believes that they have heard about the Grey Towers, but it's almost like a historical, mythical kind of thing that, you know, from before the sinking, there were these, you know, 2 or 3 great libraries, and they had multiple names each, but one of them was the Grey Towers, and that was far over on the other side of what was a humongous continent before the sinking. And it's not even known by Marcel or their people if that thing is still in existence at this point. It was in a town called Calport. Kalport. Calport. I used this town in a game. I mean, it is in a town from the world, and I used it in a game once, and for 2 or 3 sessions, I kept saying Calport. And one of my players thought I was saying Cowport, like Cowport. So, not Cowport, Calport, Kalport.
Well, you name a town what you're known for.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's how I figured out that he was hearing it phonetically different from how I was trying to say it, is that eventually, finally on the third session, he said, "So tell me this, do they export a lot of cows or something?" And I was like, "What?" And then I realized, oh, you think I've been saying Cowport. No. So, yes, they do have cows, or they had cows in the surrounding region, but that's not what it was. But
so Marcel, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, no, I was just going to say it is a relatively large city with a history, and Marcel's people have the library's location in that city.
But that city is like on the opposite side of what we know as the world now, but used to be the other side of the continent.
From where your people come from, it used to be on the other side of the continent from there. And the population of your particular tribe at this point has not gone that far away, or at least you don't know of anyone who has gone that far away and come back. So you're not really sure exactly where it would be in the world now.
Okay.
It's kind of tough to navigate if there's no land anymore to know how far to go.
Yeah.
So a little history of the ship that I think you both need to know. So during a great storm here, during which this giant crab episode began with strange gelatinous crabs like the ones you saw washing up on the shore and attacking the lighthouse, we found this ship as a wreck after the storm, and in its hold it had strange script and writing and markings of that eye symbol. So, and we also found what looked to be dead members of the crew that were also wearing robes. I think also in the hold there was boxes of robes, right, that had the markings on it. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yep.
So it seems like this ship itself was here maybe doing something as agents of that entity that bears that mark that we don't understand or know what it is. So that's part of the mystery that we're trying to answer.
So it actually looks like we lost Nina.
Oh no, I
Are you here? Oh, that's funny because now your video is frozen.
Oh, good. It's slowly conking out on us.
That's okay. Sorry. Well, good. I'm glad to know you're still here.
Yeah.
Yes, the eye symbol was on some of it was embroidered on some of the robes that were in the boat. That is true.
And also painted on the deck rather largely.
So what were the agents of that force doing here in this harbor? What was their business that they ran afoul of the storm and revealed them? That's a question that has been lingering.
There's a lot of questions.
Maybe
It
the
seems
place to start
big
would be the
on-
local library.
I mean, finding a library would be one thing, but we don't really have much leads besides a general area of where it used to be. This group seems to be pretty big on rituals. What if the storm was a result of their ritual on this ship?
I get the feeling that the storm was natural, though. It seemed like it rolled in, if I remember correctly. It seemed like it rolled in relatively naturally. It didn't seem like it pinpoint occurred in the sky, like near the ship. It didn't seem like something called it. It just seemed like a storm. And I don't even know what caused the ship to partially sink. There was a small hole in it that looked like over several days it would cause the ship to sink, but there weren't any signs of repair. There was no, it almost seemed like the crew was more intent on these sigils and the writings on the wall and this obsessive scribbling than their actual welfare. It seemed almost like they were more controlled or obsessed or just couldn't do anything besides focus on this one thing. Kind of like how our friend in our ship still, which we need to address, after he saw that eye, he could only say one phrase.
Yeah, he got pretty obsessive about one or two things after when he saw that. Yeah,
Too many questions, not enough answers.
Right. So.
Well, I suggest we spend maybe a day at the local library. At the very least, a library may have heard of another great library or know something.
I was going to say, I know a few people who might have ideas. Maybe we can search for them and ask a couple people who might know a little better. I also need to speak with the priest at the temple to see if they will take care of our friend.
Sounds good.
Sounds like we know what the next few days will focus on.
Okay, so you're gonna deal with Leukanius in the temple. You're gonna go to the library and do some research.
Yes.
What else?
Pretty much after we're finished with this conversation, I'm going to the temple. I feel like we should get that arranged ASAP.
Okay. Anything?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
What time is it? What does it look like outside? Is it dark yet?
You came in pretty much like mid-morning, and you only spent a very brief amount of time with Ulgrat and the Dockwatch.
Okay.
You spent a little while with your father. I mean, it's probably right afternoon, maybe 1 o'clock, something like that.
Okay.
Not late at all. Yeah.
Maybe after dark. Maybe I'll go chat with the priest, and then maybe after dark we can shuffle Leukanius in, because I don't feel like people would take very kindly to him if they saw him and the pincers and all that jazz.
So everyone, roll me a perception check. A wisdom perception check.
Oh, I'm not rolling well.
15.
15.
9.
21.
Throughout your conversation, you've been trying to sort of also keep an eye on the sailors from your crew who are telling these wonderful stories. And you notice right after Emmeryn is talking about Leukanius, you're sort of doing the glance around, check to make sure no one's paying a lot of attention to you or anything like that. And you see one of the sailors that was telling the story lead 5 or 6 people out of the tavern. And the other 3 people, the other 3 sailors telling the stories, are continuing to tell their stories. So they're engrossed. The much of the crowd is engrossed, but the one sailor did lead 3 or 4, maybe 5 people out of the tavern, and you hear snippets of no, I'll show you. Come and look.
That's not
Does
good.
anyone else see that?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
sorry. Everyone who rolled a 15 and above saw that.
Not me.
Well, I'll call attention to it. Oh, it looks like one of our sailors has gotten a little too much attention and is maybe trying to lead a tour towards our ship.
It's been a week, right? Since we left?
It's been 5 days, yeah. 5.5 days.
No.
We should probably stop that.
Yeah,
we don't
we should.
want this guy to.
Trying to figure out a way to do it discreetly. Maybe like call everybody to the ship to receive their payment for the week's travel, but it hasn't really been a week yet. Yeah, we should probably just go and say that's not okay.
Yeah. The people that he took out, whether are those like other crew members on our ship or just other local people, or
patrons from the bar that were listening to these fantastical stories.
Okay. I'm actually, you guys go after them. I'm gonna stay with the group in here.
Okay. All right, I'll rush out.
Okay. You see the group loudly making their way down to the docks. Of course, half of them still have mugs in their hands, and they're, it's the middle of the day, so they are quite the spectacle, sort of tromping along down and, talking about fantastical sea creatures.
Okay, I'm gonna rush up to the group and go, hey, wait, you gotta see this back in the bar. They've set up 5 cups and the little octopus is jumping from one to the other doing somersaults.
Is anybody else with Axley?
Yeah, I would have been gone with him.
Okay. You're surreptitiously hiding your bucket with otter in it.
Yes, under the coat.
If Axley could please give me a charisma deception check, that would be nice.
Okay. Oh, that's a 8 total. Yeah, not great.
All right, so sorry, something fell on the floor. Oh, here we go. Two of the townsfolk say, "Oh, really?" And they turn to go, and one of the sort of larger, more burly local guys says, "Ah, that's bogus. Plus, we can just see it when we get back. Let's keep going this way. This is going to be way more interesting."
Where exactly are you going? Yeah.
The sailor, part of your crew, he's kind of trying to slink away. The crowd, the 4 or 5 commoners from town say, "Oh, well, we're being led here to the ship. We're gonna see some fantastical creatures that have been trapped, and they're in the hold of the boat. Crab people and octopi and all kinds of different things."
No, there was only the one giant crab, and it's being cooked up by the Dwarven Dockmaster. You'd have to go see him about that.
The what?
The Ulgrat.
You
The
didn't hear it, he's
Ulgrat.
having a giant feast cooking up the crab. He's giving away free stew, crab stew. If you get there may be some left.
Free
We're gonna
stew.
find
One guy looks at the other. I'm kind of hungry for lunch. Let's go down there and we can go to the boat later. And they start rushing off. The crew member is nowhere to be seen. He has vacated the area.
Yeah, let's see if we can look around, find him, look around, just the general vicinity here.
You recognized him. You know who he was. So you can either look for him now, or you can have a discussion with him at a later time.
If I can take a minute to look around, I'll see if I can find him.
Okay.
In the area.
Roll me a perception check, please.
14.
Yeah, you see him kind of trying to stand up against the side of a building under the eave, so that he's kind of shaded by, so that he's kind of out of view. He's kind of obviously trying to not be seen. Not very well, but.
Right. Okay, Jeff, come here. Let's have a little chat. See you there.
Hi, boss.
Hey, what exact were you taking those folks to the boat to see our guest?
Well, they were real interested in the crab man. I mean, it's interesting, and we captured him and everything, and so I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. I mean, we could be famous if we showed everybody this. We could start charging admission.
Oh my god.
Not an animal. He is a human being.
Believe it or not.
He's a what?
Believe it or not, we don't want to attract too much attention just yet. We don't know exactly what's causing what's wrong with them, and we don't want to scare people either. So, appreciate the idea of wanting to make some money off of this, but we brought him back here to see if we can fix whatever's going on with him. So for now, let's not go telling anybody else about Crabman, please.
But he's just a dirty crab. Why do we care? We could make so much money off of him. It would be glorious.
Pulls back the banana and said, "Sailor, this came from a bit of a curse. Lest you experience this yourself, you will not tell anyone else about Crabman. Understand?"
You want to give me a charisma intimidation check?
Yes, I would.
I would want to remember.
Am I still frozen because I'm like rubbing my hands together, grinning ear to ear?
Yep, I can see it. 23 intimidation.
Okay.
Oh boy.
You smell the smell of fresh urine. And if you look down, you see that there's a puddle forming, running off of this gentleman's leg and going over his boot, his little booty sock. And he says, okay. I gotta go. I just need to lay down. I suddenly I don't feel very good. I'm just gonna go. Okay, boss. Okay. And he's backing up.
Carry on.
When you say that,
Back
he
to the boat
turns.
for the night.
He turns and
take care of that leak you sprung.
he runs as fast as he can back to the boat. His eyes wide. Oh boy. What did you say his first name was? You called him a name?
I called him Jeff.
Jeff.
Jeff seems like a great guy. While Emmeryn is confident knowing that her shipmates have the crowd that left, I'm gonna walk up. Marcel, are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna walk up to the other two crewmates that are in here. right? There's 2 more in here?
There's three more telling stories.
Okay. I'm gonna walk up to that table. Sorry, folks, can a captain have a moment with her crew?
Yeah, you're the captain? Wow. And they're sort of, buy this captain a beer. Let's get some ale over here. And they're trying to buy you a drink and tell us all of the things that you've done this past week.
Business first. I need to speak with my crew.
Oh, and they sort of, as a group, they sort of whine. Oh, okay. And they kind of go off and mill about the bar again and go back to their smaller groups around different tables. And the 3 sailors are kind of sitting there looking down at their tankards of ale. Hi, Captain.
Are they full?
The tankards?
Yeah.
No, they're empty.
I'm gonna get another round.
Okay.
Pull up a chair with like the back and like sit on it with my arms crossed.
Okay. Hey, your video's back. Yay!
Oh, is it? That's exciting. You guys are still frozen solid. But I'm just gonna sit down with an ale myself. Enjoying the town?
Oh, well, it's been a few days since we've been here, and we had a pretty eventful trip, so we're just spreading the stories. We're yes.
Good on
Pretty
you.
tall stories.
Yeah. I like raise a drink to that and drink to it. A matter of business, though. We have a fellow on board, and I saw a couple of people from the town starting to head towards our ship. Just so you're aware, I would like to keep his presence a little bit under wraps for the time being.
The one in the middle, there's 3 of them. The one in the middle starts to go, and you could see the one that has been talking to you elbow that one, and he gets quiet. He says,
I'm sure you understand we don't want to cause a ruckus in the town. While it would be nice to have our names be known to most of them, our tall tales have reached quite a few years already. Now, when we come back and we have exuberant amounts of money and riches from whatever else we do on our excursions, people will know our names far and wide. So we don't really need for this to become an issue at this point in time.
But Captain, we've been drinking free all night.
Right, so your thirsts are quenched. There's no need for anything else.
And we kind of already told them about the crab guy.
I'm sure a couple of drinks and they'll forget. And I yell over to the bartender, drinks for everyone on me.
The bartender says. Everybody cheers. Yay! 3 cheers for Captain Emmeryn.
Yeah.
Hip hip. And then the whole crowd, hooray!
So, I assume we're all clear on this matter.
Yes, Captain.
And I would like you to spread that word to the rest of our crewmates.
Aye, aye.
Thank you very much.
Do you want to roll for me an intimidation check?
Oh, that's not a good. That's a 4.
Okay.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
Okay, so they're sufficiently chastised.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say it was more like persuasion. It wasn't.
I mean, to them, it's
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's you telling them what to do, and that's
you
I
know.
don't different dice.
Mhm.
My dice. Oh well. Marcel, are you still sitting with them?
Are you still sitting with them?
No, I walked away.
I'll follow you. I'm basically just making sure, you
Okay.
know, if you need backup.
Okay.
Okay. Next order of business. What would you like to do now?
Honestly, as we're leaving, I'm just gonna be like, you need to work on the intimidation factor.
I know. I don't. I'm not. I'm not a scary person. I don't know how to be. Do this. I just don't know.
Maybe you can get some pointers from our two friends.
Maybe. You think Konos would give me lessons?
Maybe.
You might have to get a barnacle eye first.
Yeah. I'm like proficient in like the disguise kits where I can just like make up my eye. Oh, okay. After like a couple more rounds, I guess I'll make my way over to the Temple of Goras.
Okay.
Um,
Do you remember the name of the priest at the Temple of Goras?
does he have a name, or do I get to make one up?
I think you can make one up. I was looking at my notes to see if we actually
I don't
had.
think we ever established
Okay.
a name. So I don't think I've really been in the temple during the game.
Okay. Then you
But-
can feel free to make one up. If you don't have one ready, I can give you one.
Does he have like a is he human, half elf, elven, dwarvish? Do I get to make that up too?
You can make that up too if you'd like.
Okay.
I mean, Goras is a human deity, so
Yeah.
but it's not
Well,
unheard of to have
we'll
other
go with
followers.
human male named Nanar. Nanar. Nanar.
Okay. So High Priest Nanar is in the temple performing his regular duties.
Emmeryn's gonna take a second to she sits cross-legged on the floor and just kind of holds her symbol and meditates for a couple minutes, just praying to her deity.
Okay.
And then when she's finished, does he look busy? Does he look like he could chat for a second?
I mean, he's as busy as he always is.
Okay.
It's one of those where everyone is always busy, right?
Yeah.
You're not in the temple. If you're in the temple, you're either meditating or you're doing something. You're not just,
Okay. When I catch like a brief moment, I just High Priest, can I speak with you for a moment?
Yes, Emmeryn, correct?
Correct.
I'm just kidding. I know who you are. What can I do for you?
I have a request. Have you heard of our expedition? I guess word has been traveling rather quickly through the town.
Your expedition.
There's a giant crab that's been parading through the streets.
You're the one that was on that ship. I see. Okay. Yes, I have heard.
Yeah,
I honestly thought it was just a bunch of tall tales, but
no. To be fair, most of it is tall tales, but the giant crab is not. We brought that back. We also brought back a rather unfortunate victim, I suppose. These crabs that have been tormenting the town, were emanating from this island, I guess. And so we went there on request of Ulgrat and to slay this giant crab, but we also found, I don't want to say people there, but they're humanoid, but they're also crab-like. And a lot of them...
Crab-like? What do you mean crab-like?
Like, still a humanoid form, but had pincers, or half of their face is crab-like with like a beak, and parts of them are human, but parts of them are crab. And it doesn't make a lot of sense to us, but after a bit of a skirmish, we realized that one of them was not fighting back, and so we brought him back with us, and in hopes of finding some kind of remedy or cure or research that says what this is and if there's a reverse effect. But I was hoping that he could stay here for the time being, probably secretly to avoid prying eyes and people that wish to harm him. I know it's a large request.
I think that the Temple of Goros is open to helping a creature that is in need, shall I say. But I'm not quite exactly sure what you mean when you say that this is a crab-like person. Do you think it is a curse? Do you think it is something else? I'm lacking in knowledge.
As are we, quite honestly. I cast a spell to try and detect what kind of a creature this is, what kind of magic it is. It has to be some sort of magic. But I got a mixed read. I've never really experienced anything like it, but it was very faint. Fey and aberration. So I'm not really sure what it is, what's causing it. They were performing some kind of ritual when we approached, but he doesn't speak hardly anything. But
is his condition worsening?
Very, very slowly, but yes.
So you feel it's reversible?
I'm hoping it's reversible. And that's what we intend to research. Do you by any chance know of the Library of Great Towers?
Well, there are lots of libraries in the ancient records. I don't know of one that is specific to Goros, but
It would. I don't know if it. I don't think it would be specific to Goros. I think it's specific to.
You think this has something to do with making the men into a crab?
I don't think the library itself has anything to do with it, but if there's some kind of historical record of any kind of ritual or spell or curse that does cause a man to become a sea creature, then it's worth looking into. But I think it would be a library of Straben. Straben? I saw a symbol on the doors, so I don't think it would be a library of Goros, but maybe...
You saw the symbol on the doors?
I believe so.
Where you found the crab man?
Oh, I had a vision. I think our goddess Goros sent me a vision one night, and I was flying over this town, this city, and I came across this great library, and this is all the information I gleaned from it, but there were the symbols of Straben, and I saw a name in a book, and I went into the library. I traveled down these passageways, and I felt like I was being guided by Goros, and I came across a book, and then there were these bounty hunters that were trying to catch me, and so I ran, and then everything started to crumble and fall. But when I looked at my reflection, it wasn't me, it was my mother. So I think that's where she is, and that's mostly why I want to go to the library. But I also think it could help the others as well.
Was your mother an acolyte of Straben?
I don't know. I didn't think so. She never mentioned anything like that, but I guess it's possible.
I am at a loss, I'm afraid. I will research this, and I will let you know if I find anything. But in the meantime, bring your patient here, and we will protect it and try to find out if it's a curse or something. But I make no guarantees. Often, well, has it been out of the water?
Yeah, he hasn't. I don't think he's been in the water. He's been below the deck of our ship, traveling with us.
Okay. Well, bring him here, and we'll take care of that. As far as libraries, I will do some research, but I'm not recalling anything off the top of my head. I know of several libraries, but I don't. Straben is Straben was Straben has had a resurgence in faithful believers, and before the sinking, Straben was not as followed as now, and so I'm wondering if if your vision is something new, and maybe I won't find it in my research, but I will definitely look for you. How long are you to be in town?
Not for a whole lot longer. I have a couple errands to run, and I think this was our main priority, was getting his name. I should probably check it. I have a horrible memory, which is why I write everything down.
Yeah.
Leukanius. His name is Leukanius. We did glean that kind of information out of him.
Leukanius?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes, I think so. Do you know Leukanius?
Yes. But he is a man, not a crab. Bring him here very quickly.
Okay.
Something is amiss. This is not right.
Okay. Thank you. And she clasps her medallion and gives like a deep bow. And she turns and spins and runs to the ship to gather her friend and hopefully smuggle this crab human into the temple.
Okay. What's everyone else doing?
What time of night is it? Is it late?
I think it's around noonish.
Yeah, it's still just afternoon.
12:30.
Karu, I think you were muted.
I was probably outside the temple waiting for Emmeryn.
Okay.
Just to keep tabs on people, but temples, whatever. Rather not. You can go in. I will stay outside. It's fine. So yeah, I'm there when you come out, and it's like, oh, finally! I thought you were gonna be in there all day. Oof.
Emmeryn like kind of hooks your arm and like is briskly walking back to the ship, like
right. I'm a bit short for this. Like normal.
She's partially carrying you.
Just
yeah.
hopping on.
Turn of events. Leukanius is from here. Nenard knows Leukanius. So we're gonna go get him.
Mm-hmm. Aren't we waiting till dark?
No. And I keep walking.
Axley
like-
and Konos, what are you doing?
Yeah, where are you guys?
I'd like to head to the library if it's still early in the day, early enough.
Yeah, it's still early, so you can go over to the library, no problem.
I'd accompany. I'd go with Axley.
Okay. What are you looking for in the library?
Let's see, I have a few notes to research. Other libraries, specifically Calport and a library with great towers, the eye symbol and the name Laralac, the House of Adrin with the sigil we found, that powerful merchant house.
Oh my god, we have so many questions.
And now deep speech writing and its connection to Dwarven, the Blue Plateau and the name Shamisa. I'll look into that. And then the Howling Gate and the Palace of Mud.
Man, wouldn't it be great if you had Google?
Yeah, just Google it all.
Uh,
Laundry list.
so, here is the question for you. How long are you going to spend researching any given subject?
Well, I want to be thorough, so if I need to do it, I think I'll start with first the library. That's an easier question, I think, to answer
Okay.
with the staff.
I don't know. I thought this was going to be an easy find. It's a big city. We're going to go right there. It's not that simple.
I mean, we've got a pretty long list, and you had a lot of things that I was interested in looking into. So maybe we can like just kind of split it up. We can each take part of the list and see what we can find.
Yeah, so
Sure.
I guess the question is, so what are you researching first? Instead of asking you for a time, tell me which one each of you are looking at.
I'll research the other library.
Okay.
I'll look into the symbol with the eye.
Okay. Um,
Are you guys still there?
Yep, we're here. Sorry,
Okay.
I was writing something, so
No, it's fine. That's a long quiet.
yeah. Um, so why don't you, let's see, Axley, go ahead and give me an intelligence investigation check.
Okay. 15.
Okay. You find that there is one. So there, you do find a mention of a city, Calport, and there is one mention of a library there called the Gray Towers.
Gray, as in the color gray?
Yep. And it's also referred to in this. There's only one passage. It's about 4 sentences where it's talking about what can be found in Calport and what can, what types of people are there. It's a very, very old set of parchments. It's only about 15 pages long, and it was found in someone who was a refugee. It was found amongst their things, and there's no more binding to the book. You have no idea where it came from. It's just was among someone's possessions, and it's talking about Calport as a major export city. And apparently, it used to be located on a humongous lake, and that lake was known for some fantastical things like storm wyverns were often seen harassing ships on the lake. So it was known as a very dangerous area. But lots of people went there for 2 things. The first thing was the library, which was called the Library of Grey Towers. It was also called the Library of Therondimus. So I will spell that for you. Therondimus, Therondimus. and it was known as the Tomish Repository. The Tomish Repository. So it sort of has those three names: the Grey Towers, the Library of Throndimus, and the Tomish Repository. And so it was a place where lots of people went to research within that library. Not just it's not an arcane library necessarily. One of the reasons why it was so popular, it's this is what it indicates. One of the reasons it's so popular is that anyone could go into the library as long as they had something specific that they were looking for, right? But lots of libraries were, this from your lore, this isn't written in there, but lots of libraries are locked out, right? You have to be of a specific belief system or of a specific, arcane tradition or of a specific royal background or something in order to actually get access to those libraries. It's not like an actual library in real life where libraries are meant for all the citizens. Most libraries, at least before the sinking, were specific to certain people. This library, however, was not. It was an open library, so it was a library in a true sense of the word. And so that's what you find. You also find some, there's several more pages about Cowport, and there's a lot of things. So there's the library that people go there for, and then they were one of the most, they had one of the highest count of varieties of cheese that they export. So they were known for their cheese. Cowport was a fairly large city. It was a major city. So provided it is still intact, you're imagining, a vast landscape with a lot of buildings and a lot of people.
Well, you're not helping your Cowport.
I know, sorry. And then, Konos, will you please give me an investigate check?
9.
You have a hard time finding anything out about the House of Adram. You do find something, though, and what you find is I have to find it here in my notes. Oh, I know why. It's on a different piece. You find a reference to the House of Adram, and all you find is a handwritten piece of little parchment that says, "Defy not the House of Adram." And it is signed by Betet, Betet, of Cowport. Betet of Cowport.
Okay. Have we gotten a sense from our researchers like how far away Cowport is at this point?
So in order to try to figure that out, I would need a navigation check. Because the two of you can probably put your heads together and look at what's known of some of the old scraps of maps, and given what Marcel said about it being sort of on the other side of the quote continent, you can try to sort of figure out how long it would take based on if you were to map it. The quality and accuracy of that map will be in question, of course.
Okay.
So
Right.
1 second. So go ahead and give me a either. Well, it's probably going to be a wisdom survival check, and if you have navigator's tools, that will give you advantage.
Good. I'm going to need it. Maybe not. 17.
Okay. You suspect that. Let me see something here. It's probably at least 15 days at sea. And you think it is due north-northeast. Or sorry, north-northwest.
And reports are that this island that was on has sunk, right? It's no longer above the water.
No, I don't know where. It's unknown at this point.
Okay. No refugees have entered in the account of.
Oh no. There are probably many islands in between though. So, Trastenfen is sort of on the far eastern portion of the world. So there's probably several islands in between.
Okay.
So why don't you both roll me a D10.
8.
3.
That took actually 4 hours to locate and find that, and it took Konos 2 hours to locate and find that, and then another hour for both of you to try and put that information together and come up with a suspected location and estimated time. So basically, you're there for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Okay.
So while that's occurring, what are Marcel and Emmeryn doing?
I'm heading back to the ship to get Leukanius, which I don't know if
How far is it from the ship to the temple?
Probably a 15-minute walk.
Okay. And it's still light out, like it's maybe mid-evening at most.
Yeah, I mean, at the time when Emmeryn leaves the temple, it's probably still only like barely 2 o'clock, 2 p.m.
So really bright out.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
is it like? Sorry, go ahead.
How much crab did this guy have? Like his hands were crabs, his face was crabby.
Were
Yeah.
his hands?
Were his hands crab-like?
They were crab-like, and his body, his skin seemed like it was starting to get like some kind of plating on it.
Mm-hmm. So we need a cloak with a really big hood.
I was gonna say I do have a cloak. I can probably wrap him up pretty good.
Yeah, I think that's our best bet. Just maybe put a scarf around his head and hood up and just as long as he can walk.
Right.
We march him through town, probably trying to take back alleys because we're not really good at stealth, but
at least we can stay out of the general eye.
Yeah.
Because the bad feeling we're drawing a lot of attention. Not a good situation. Okay. Yeah, let's get back to the ship. I want to talk to Leukanius.
Okay.
I know he can't really respond, but So, back at the ship, I'm gonna walk down to Leukanius. I'm gonna sit on the ground, like directly across from him.
Okay.
Do you know High Priest Nanar?
He starts trying to say something, it seems like, but all that's coming out are like clicks.
I kind of hold out a hand. It's okay. Yes or no. Nod for yes. Shake your head for no.
He nods yes.
Okay. Would you like to see him?
He starts moving around like he's making to get up.
Okay. So you have to be discreet. You have to be quiet, and I'm gonna pull my cloak off and start wrapping him kind of up as best I can.
Okay. Do you want to roll me a? Are you proficient with a disguise kit or anything?
Neither am I, but I am definitely helping for what use that'll be.
Um,
Lower half, I'll get the upper half.
yeah, so roll a deception check with advantage.
Deception. Ooh, that's good. Okay. Deception. 18.
Okay. Okay. You've got him bundled up as much as you feel like you can.
Okay.
And he's visibly, like, obviously excited about finally getting to go somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, I understand that. Okay. Slow and quiet. I start leading him up to the ship, and we'll make our way to the temple in
Okay.
broad daylight.
Okay. Are you gonna try to take back galleys and go out of the way, or are you just gonna take the most direct, fast route?
I would. Marcel, do you have a preference?
I don't know if like back alleys, but definitely not go like main street.
Hug buildings, kind of.
Yeah, we don't want to look too shifty because that could screw us anyways.
Right.
But definitely not march him down the main square completely wrapped up in a hook cloak, because that's shifty. That's obviously something's wrong there, and we don't know exactly how much the our ship crew has been talking about stuff, and they now know you're the captain, and so seeing the captain with a person completely covered in a hood might raise some questions.
This all just bit us in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Conspicuous as possible.
roll me, this is gonna sound weird, a strength athletics check. For both
You're
of
right,
you.
that is weird.
Both of us, or one of us, or
both of you.
okay. Strength athletics.
The DC is 12.
Okay. Well, I got a natural 20.
Okay.
Oh, that's good because I got an 8.
Okay.
And I have a 1, so plus 21 for me.
Okay. So, multiple times on your 15 to 20 minute walk, Leukanius stumbles. And the majority of time, excuse me, you sort of are close enough to him that you can hold him up and whatnot. But a couple of times he falls all the way to the ground, and he makes a really sad sounding, like obviously it's causing him pain, and he has sorrow around this entire situation. but you, for the most part, you keep him standing. I don't know how Marcel did it, but a couple of times he almost fell over, and Marcel just kind of like grabbed the back of his belt loop and like held it, pulled him right back up, and um,
I
this,
used all my strength practically carrying Marcel back to the ship.
yeah, exactly. Um, and then you get to the temple, and I will have you both roll a perception check.
So I used my good roll already. That's a 10.
Okay.
12.
Okay. As far as you can tell, no one has followed you. No one's taking much notice. As you walk him up the stairs, oh, see, now I put my book away. As you walk him up the stairs, Nanar, High Priest Nanar, opens the door and reaches his arm out and helps you in.
Also, I don't know if it's pertinent, but I feel like I should throw out there. I did take a feat. I took the observant feat. So like
Okay.
my passive perception is an 18.
Okay. Okay.
If that's relevant at all.
Not
Anywhere,
right
but
this second, but yes, it
not
will be
right this
relevant.
second,
So,
but I figured I'd throw it out there.
okay.
Okay.
Okay. And so he sort of helps you the last few feet into the temple, and he starts kind of unwrapping Leukanius,
Take my cloak back, put it back on.
and he gasps, "Oh, what happened? How do you know this is Leukanius?"
Ask him.
I think he can talk anymore. Our friend can kind of telepathically speak, and although his mouth is not functioning as a normal human's would, his mind is still somewhat there.
I can see he still has human eyes. Let's get him back. Let's get him back to the room. Let's come on. You could see that Nanar is completely flustered.
Don't blink.
Marcel, are you staying in the temple or are you gonna step out?
I'm too curious about what's going on here,
Okay.
so I'm gonna tag along.
Okay. He leads you back, and he's trying to also get Leukanius to go back into one of the ritual rooms, and there is a several mosaics, several different portions that are mosaics that show scenes that Emmeryn recognizes from the good deeds that Goros has had her people perform over, in several different time periods in the world. There's a huge mosaics of this, and on the ground there is a setup that is, it looks like a line of some sort of powdery substance. It's kind of brownish mixed in with some white parts, and it's making a large oval. And the priest leads Leukanius to that area, and he looks at both of you. He says, "Don't break the line." And he tries to get Leukanius over and laying down within the oval without breaking the line of material.
To help kind of lift him and adjust as needed.
With your help, he is able to do that, and he puts his hand on Leukanius's, what used to be his human forehead, and he starts uttering a prayer of some sort. He stands up. He says, I'm going to have them start doing some rituals right away to possibly cleanse him of whatever it is that has him. This is much worse than I expected. I thought it was just, appendages or something. I didn't realize his entire body was turning into a crab. I am sorry that I doubted you, that I thought you were exaggerating.
That's not your fault. We just appreciate that you're doing what you can.
Leave him here. We'll protect him.
Thank you again.
Have you seen his mother?
No, I'm not familiar with him. I don't know. I didn't know he had family.
Very well. I will.
Conversation.
Huh?
Don't want to have that conversation. That's out of game.
Uh,
I'll say that.
he says very well, very well. I will have the acolytes bring her here. I will try to get him more presentable first. Thank you. You've done a service to Goras with this.
I only hope she can be of service to him.
I do as well. Leave us now. We will need to prepare for rituals.
Oh, we don't get to watch that? All right, fine.
If you would like to take part, are you also an adherent of Goras?
No.
Oh, well, the word of Goras is all-encompassing and can relieve the suffering of so many in this world today. And Goros is also glorious and can bring many things to your life. If you would like to sit down and understand
think
more
I'm
about the joy of Goras, I would be happy to arrange for some acolytes to meet with you and discuss your options in this respect.
I think the only deity I follow is that of the sea.
Very well, very well. It's a shame. I think that your people would really, really appreciate the teachings of Goras. It's quite well suited to your yes, your kind.
Hey, priest, they are my friend, and we've had discussions, and leave that to me. You have matters to take care of.
Thank you, Emmeryn. Very well, very well. I hope to see you again, young
I hope to see
Trinian.
both of you well.
Yes.
And I turn and close the door.
You leave Marcel in there.
No, I'm behind. I was backing up before that. I was like, okay, this is why I don't go into temples.
Sorry about that. He's really adamant about the whole thing, and he has good intentions.
That's how they all are. That's why I don't go into temples usually. But this was just too. You think they'll be able to return him? Because we'd have a lot of questions for him if they do.
We'll have to be sure to keep in contact with them while we're traveling. Maybe set up some kind of, I don't know, is there airmail?
Not quite, but there are magical means to communicate if you have access to them.
Okay, maybe we'll have to set something up with that. We'll work on it. We got a lot on our plates.
Yeah. As we're leaving the temple, I'm like, so he really did seem to be turning into a full crab. You think the big 15-foot crab was a human once?
I was thinking the same thing, but I'm almost thinking it was multiple humans. Maybe they all just kind of merged.
They're gonna all turn into soup by the end of the day.
Oh, let's not think about that. That's a cannibalism in a weird way. But Marcel, do you want to look for the rest of our group? I don't know where they went, but I need a minute. I'll be one more minute. Won't be long.
All right, fine. They did mention they were going to go look for information, right?
Yeah, they might be near the makeshift library type thing.
All right.
Yeah.
So what's Emmeryn doing then?
I sit down and I just clutching my symbol of Goras. If there's anything you can do, you've helped me so much already, but if there's anything you can do for Leukanius, I would appreciate it. And she just kind of sits in thought for another minute and then gets up and walks away.
Okay. You, as always, when you're near a temple and you sort of meditate or pray, you feel a sense of peace. But that's not indicative of anything necessarily, but it might be. Depends
Right.
on how you feel about it. So I think you can probably pretty easily find Konos and Axley in the library. So let's fast forward to having everyone done and meeting now. So you can fill each other in on what you have found.
Yeah.
And so is there anything that needs to be resolved before we end the session? Because we're going to switch over to the discussion portion, unless there's something that needs to be resolved.
Maybe out of game we can kind of discuss components for spells, because I would kind of like to start stocking up on some components, what I can find. But that can be an out of game thing.
Okay. Anyone else have anything that's specific to the session that you thought of that you really want to get taken care of before the session ends, or?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay.
The only question I would have is, did we learn how Nanar knows Leukanius?
Nope.
I was going to press for questions, but I figured that was not the time. So I figured if we go back the next day, I can ask a few more questions, because I also want to know, like, who was Leukanius in general? How old was he? Because if his mother's still alive, he can't be that old. Just what he did here, how long he's been here, was he traveling? Was he a resident? Like, I had a lot of questions, but I wasn't going to ask it at that point in time. So I'm on the same page.
Okay.
I know if we're going to be staying in Trastenfen for a little while, I know there's probably some. Konos would want to talk with people at the Company of the Eastern Sun if there's any presence here in town, just kind of as aid with some of the research we're doing. But that can be for another time.
Okay. You can actually give me a if you give me a persuasion check.
Okay. And 9.
So here's what you find out. The Company of the Eastern Sun used to have a pretty large agent office in Cowport, but they haven't been in contact with them for several months. All of the messages that they have sent have not been returned. But that's, doesn't necessarily mean anything. The agent that you're talking to in Trastenfen is basically like, look, we have offices all over, and sometimes they just can't keep it going, and sometimes they send a message back, but it goes on a ship, and the ship is lost at sea, or the ship never makes it back to Trastenfen to deliver it, or there's not a lot of movement of agents from one island to the other very quickly, so it's possible we just haven't gotten the message back. It's not unusual for months to go by without hearing about it or hearing anything from anywhere.
Okay. Well, I may be heading. My crew and I may be heading out that way ourselves, and at some point, is there any messages we should take there with us?
We always have a bundle of messages that can be delivered to any agent uh, at a major destination. That's the other reason why it's not necessarily odd that no one has gotten back to them from Cowport, because sometimes ships don't actually go directly to a particular island. They are just going to more to that region, and they drop messages off to be there's not really an efficient system for there's not like a Pony Express or a or a mail system. It's more like one agent says, "Oh, I'm going west," and they say, "Okay, take this bundle, and when you get to the next office, distribute this
off.
bundle," and then they, um, so
Yeah,
yeah,
that's fine.
sure, we have a giant box of things to send.
Okay. When we get ready to set out, I can pick it up.
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay.
All right. In the meantime, they will try to gather some navigational charts and whatnot for you.
Oh, good.
Okay. So let's move to the debrief part. So Nina mentioned something a minute ago that is something I should have asked at the beginning of the session, but I did not, and that is when you all leveled up to level 4, is there anything that you added to your character that I should know about?
I just increased dexterity and charisma by 1 so they're both at 20. So those are actually maxed out now. I took a new spell and a new cantrip. I took Booming Blade and Shadow Blade.
Okay.
Kind of with the thought being, like, if we have another kind of more long sustained combat, we're all being surrounded. There's a more of a melee option that I have available.
Okay.
That's all I did.
Yeah, I think I increased dexterity and charisma, so they are now an even. I got 2 new spells as well, so I picked up message, which seemed like a good idea because we tend to separate the party a lot, apparently, despite how bad that idea is. And also so we can message the crew, though we can't be too far away because it's only at 120 feet range.
Got an
and
email spell.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I took enlarge reduce because that can be useful in many ways.
Yes. Okay.
A more utility spell for my second level spell slots.
Perfect. Axley, what did you do?
Okay,
when you leveled up?
I took a feat also. I went with Lucky. That sounds like it'll be fun. And let's see, for my level up spell, I took Invisibility as a level 2 spell. And I picked up Featherfall for a level 1 spell.
Nice.
And Prestidigitation as a cantrip.
Okay.
And yeah, I took a feat too. I took the observant feat, which increased my wisdom, which was good. And then I took the detect evil and good and sacred flame as a cantrip.
Okay. Okay.
My roll has not been very good on my perceptions though.
Okay. So this was a find things out kind of session.
Yeah.
So here's the thing.
I think probably I know the answer to this, but where do you guys want to go? You guys, I'm doing it again. Where do you all want to go next session? Do you want to stay in Trastenfen and research more, or do you want to go somewhere else?
Well, it sounds like a lot of the things we're looking for off in Calport. So I think
We only have
that's-
a very vague idea of where that is, though, don't we?
Yes.
And what's in between us and that there. We need to like know
Right,
our
we-
course.
Oh, right, yeah.
No idea.
And maybe the tavern would be a good place to go ask around if anyone's been there or been in that direction at least. Come from that direction.
Or come from there.
Yeah. I feel like if we spend another half day in Trastenfen, maybe a couple of us ask around to see if we can get a better idea where Calport is. And then the other half, like, check on Leukanius, obviously, and then just kind of supplies, general, whatever we need to get the boat prepped, and then shove off later that afternoon. I don't feel like we need to stay for a very long time.
Yeah, we definitely need to would need to stock up for a longer journey because it sounds like it's at least a month round trip.
Right. And we don't know what's in between as well. We found a tiny island off of a general direction before. I feel like we could find a larger port. It's just whatever is in between. We might have a day or two of exploration, doing whatever. I know Emmeryn wants to just go directly to the city, but other people might have other ideas. So yeah, probably towards Calport.
I think one thing we can try looking for is any kind of missions we can take that are on the way so that we make it more than just we're going to the city to find information, but also make it worth our while in terms of money making.
Right, to travel 15 days
Out and back.
to go to a lot. Yeah.
Even if it's just on the way, be it delivery or be it whatever needs to be done, just so we have like a secondary thing going on beyond just getting to Calport and finding out what we can find out there.
Right, because our crew will need paying as well. So anything that can kind of keep the coffers full will be good to do.
I have to organize our ledgers because I need to figure out how much money we actually have. I haven't kept that
That's
up
a good
very long.
question too. For like buying new weapons or armor, upgrading our gear.
Ooh,
think
I did
it's
want to
also
get a weapon.
basic stuff.
I have some shopping I want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kona's had a good idea talking with the Eastern Sun. Maybe we can be a transport vessel for mail deliveries. We can probably pick up a couple people, some passengers.
Yep.
Now that our crab friend is gone. We might be able to pick up some travelers to transport as well.
Okay.
But yeah, half a day in Trastenfen we can gather up some side quests and then shove off.
So, Marcel, what have you told the group about your,
Past.
well, your ship was overcome. You told them that, but you didn't tell them that what you found, right?
I don't think so. I have not. I just told them about the ship and the fact that I was looking for the pirates that sunk the ship I was on, but not about necessarily how I survived.
Now,
And I was sorry.
Go ahead.
Marcel's coming shopping with me tomorrow because I had more questions on that. That's when my screen froze, so I kind of zoned out from the conversation, and then I came back and they were like, "Yeah, we survived the shipwreck," and I was like, "Wait a minute, I don't know what happened." So I have questions. I missed like half of that conversation. But I do have questions, so Marcel's coming shopping with me.
So I guess my question is, does Marcel want to try to explore that area and hunt those pirates on the way to Cowport?
The one big thing that Marcel fears is that if they find these pirates too soon with an untested crew, this ship is going to get sunk as well.
Hmm.
So they're kind of waiting to possibly get more powerful and see exactly how much power they can put into the ship before going pirate hunting. Um, so they're more like biding their time, maybe finding out more information about where these pirates came from or what exactly is going on. And hey, who knows? Maybe the problem will solve itself if the captain has the same curse that turns people into crabs. But maybe we'll just have to fight him as a crab. But yeah, at this point, they're willing to just go along with like the cruise. Let's go find out more information. And kind of still keep an eye out for them, but also I don't think they're ready to go up against the pirates yet. I mean, if it happens, it happens, but going out to search for pirates with a crew that's barely been tested is probably not the best idea.
Okay. Konos, just a quick question. So,
Sure.
your piece of coral
Mhm.
has been wanting you to go west.
Okay.
And so sort of stumbling on Cowport as a destination seems good, but the question is, um, are you planning? This is actually a question for everybody, but specifically for Konos because he has a direction that he wants to go. Um, are you going to make Trastenfen your home that you come back to every time, or are you going to eventually go out and maybe not come back?
Good question. Trastenfen is, I mean, if nothing else, it's sort of a good home base area for us now because it's a friendly place. We kind of know where it is and what all's available here to us. But if we have, I mean, I've got an ultimate destination. Emmeryn's got an ultimate destination in mind. So if there's sort of some place along the way that works better, wouldn't be opposed to using something like that.